You're listening to Girl, Don't Trip. Kick back with us weekly as we have soulful conversations about balancing career, relationships, and how to stay grounded through life's wild transitions.
Because we could all use a little support from our sister circle. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Girl Don't Trip Radio.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome back to Girl Don't Trip. You're listening to Bianca and Gabby.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm really good. We had an amazing weekend.
Yes.
And we've seen so much growth in what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And just being able to get responses from our listeners has been really rewarding.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone.
Everyone who's reached out to us and shared how they feel about the podcast, thank you so much, because there's a lot of self-doubt that comes with this.
So much, and especially, obviously you guys can see the numbers, so we're not we're still small.
Yeah,
we're still
small.
Still growing, but we're starting to see consistency in who is
fucking with us.
Exactly. Who's on the wave with us. And that is so dope, and something that I didn't really take into consideration when starting this.
Yeah.
It was more so us wanting to get all this creative energy out of us.
Yeah.
You know?
And now that we're doing it, it's I can't stop.
No.
I look forward to these recordings every time. And if you guys have noticed, our equipment is a lot better. Yeah, our sound quality is a lot better. Hopefully. Because we have our own equipment now.
Yeah.
So we started off renting our stuff, and now we have our own stuff. And of course, it's a learning process, and we're still learning, but we're seeing ourselves really doing this.
Yeah.
And it feels so good.
It feels amazing. And I think taking that step, that leap of faith to now invest in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because we started with literally you can start a podcast without putting up any money.
Of course. You can record on your cell phone.
Yeah. You record on your phone, which we've done. So actually now taking that leap and saying this is something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah. This
is something that I'm taking seriously. So let me invest in myself. Let me take the symbolism, I guess, of taking that step and betting.
Yeah.
Now my cards are down,
Yeah, definitely.
This is my hand.
And I'm going to manifest everything that has been in my brain constantly. I wanted to share my reading from my pattern.
Okay.
As you guys know, pattern app is our go-to. I literally every morning I wake up, that's the first thing I do is read my pattern.
Do you want to hear something really creepy?
What?
So I am part of a tarot Facebook group.
Okay. Of course you are.
Total nerd. But on there, someone mentioned the pattern app, and I was oh yeah, I have that too, but it's super repetitive. I get the same messages every day. After I sent that message, I have not received
anything that's duplicate.
Message
wow.
Again, so
they're listening. I tell you, some of the things are just so accurate. It freaks me out.
I know.
So this is my pattern for October 26th to the 28th, and it's the new moon. So this is what it says.
Tonight, actually.
Yeah, tonight.
Yeah, Sunday.
If you're not clear about your priorities, choose at least one thing that you commit yourself to, and then take action to make it happen. Whether you're changing personal behavior, focusing on work, or addressing your relationship life, there should be no equivalent. Don't look back. Set the intention to dedicate yourself to something over the next month and watch as it manifests.
Ooh.
And themes to consider when setting intentions include: do you act on your desires and passions, or do you fear them? How often do you really feel alive? Does your life have enough of what really excites you? Do you permit do you ever permit yourself to go to your edge or beyond?
Okay.
And this one is what hits the spot. Do you allow yourself to feel all that you feel without guilt, judgment, shame, or censoring?
Well, do you?
I am one of those people that, yes, I do censor myself.
Yeah.
I have a fear of coming off weak or
Weak for having emotion, weak for
emotion.
showing
I
emotion.
am a very emotional person. And if you really know me, you know that side of me.
Right.
But if you're, getting to know me or we're not that close, you're
Yeah.
going to think of me as very confident in herself and very in tune with who I
Yes.
am. But there's a lot going on here.
And I think that probably is what makes our friendship like so special, is that
Yeah.
we align on that so much that like we're really good at wearing the poker face.
For
The
sure.
mask is on.
Yeah.
Like no one, I could say this confidently, unless you're like an intuitive and you're really in tune with other people's feelings. If you know me like from work or even social,
Yeah.
my social life, you would think
That
that
everything's good.
that I have it on lock. And
Yeah.
not that like I'm faking or any of that, but more so it's just like it's not, I just feel like I got it on my own. Like I don't have to burden you with
Exactly.
what's my
What's really going
emotional
on.
stress.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I try to be a light wherever I go. Like I try to make people feel comfortable. I try to just bring a positive energy in every space, and I can see
And you don't want to be
you,
that negative Nancy in the room.
and I see that you do the exact same.
Yeah.
But with that not that it like presents like a false perception of like who you are, but that no one sees that vulnerable side to you or to me.
Yeah.
And like they might not understand or see that. So I get where like
that comes from.
Yeah, because you feel like if I'm not wearing this mask, I don't want to put anyone else off. I don't want to make anyone else uncomfortable. I don't want them to have to deal with like the burden. My
issues. Exactly, like, let me deal with my own issues. I shouldn't put that on you.
Exactly. The burden of my emotional stress. I don't want to put that on anyone else. So I get that for sure.
Yeah. But reading that pattern really got me thinking about how I do operate this way. And obviously, starting the podcast has allowed me to be more open and honest about who I am. Only because what else are we going to talk about if we're not really being honest about it? Like, I'm just making up stuff at that point. And being able to be honest and seeing the progression in myself and like the healing has been so inspiring and uplifting that it makes me want to just continue this process and continue doing this.
Yeah.
And I just love the feeling I feel after every recording. Like I love being able to see myself speak to certain people that are doing all these things, but have also experienced things that I've never had to see in my own life, but see them overcome these things and be like, girl, what are you tripping about?
But then also understanding that like, sure, the trauma that I've dealt with can't be placed on the level of someone else's trauma. Like I feel like we definitely get into that like comparison trap, right? But with having conversations with the women that we've had and also listening to other podcasts that we admire or listen to, and hearing people's stories, it's like, sure, the details of the stories might be different. Sure, the experiences might be different, but there is always a gem. There's always something that we can all resonate and relate to in whatever the circumstances. We've all felt the like colorful wheel of emotions that
Yeah.
humans
Feel.
feel.
Yeah.
And that's what connects us. It might not, our stories might be different, but like the result of that, the impact that those experiences have had on us, I think that's where you see the like
The
the
connection. Yeah.
connection, the common grounding, the
Yeah.
like I see you because you've you've felt these things too. You've
Yeah.
had to like
Exactly.
overcome them as well. And that's been really cool because for me, I don't know if you've experienced this, Bianca, but like just feeling like have so much to overcome. Like I feel like there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of healing that has to happen, but also feeling like I like not like I guess yeah, comparing. Like if I'm gonna
Yeah.
be real, I compared my trauma to other traumas, like to
Absolutely. I
other
could
people's traumas.
totally relate
Like
to
girl, like
that.
you were safe, like you had a loving upbringing. Like no, there's definitely some shit that like I went through that I saw in my life. Like
Yeah.
I'm not that's real. Like I'm from a place that like people struggle. Like I'm not
Yeah. Of
from
course.
America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I saw
Exactly.
some
Yeah.
shit before. I've seen some shit, but still comparing, still feeling like, well, I didn't go through this, so
Do I
why?
feel this way? Like I shouldn't feel
I
like
shouldn't feel
this.
like this.
Yeah.
I've had the support. I've had love. I've had, safety. I have always had a roof over my head. I've always had food to eat, whatever.
Yeah.
And then feeling like, damn, like, am I just entitled? Am I just being spoiled at this point for having these negative emotions and like whatever? But
Yeah.
like speaking and hearing all of these stories, it's like, no, trauma,
Comes in different
it
forms
comes in
and
different
different
forms.
experiences.
People, it really depends on your soul and
Yeah.
like,
And what could be traumatic to you may not be for the other person.
exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. Like, the way we process things is different.
Yes.
So, like, something could happen to you and I could process it just
It's
fine. You know what I
fine.
mean?
Yeah.
Or vice versa. So, like, not to judge where you're at because if you're feeling low and someone that's been through something worse is feeling just like the trauma is the same, it's experienced the same in our bodies, it's
Yeah.
experienced the same in our minds, so we can relate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there we can share stories and understand.
And there's a beauty to sharing your story, even when it comes to feeling like you have to like be vulnerable to share your story. But once you're able to do that and you're comfortable to share your story, the impact that you actually have is
Yeah.
going to surprise you.
Yeah.
And we've noticed that from our own experiences now, like
Yeah.
opening up to other women about what we've been going through or
Yes.
have gone through, and seeing their reactions to that and their
and no
responses.
one's been like, what are you talking
Exactly,
about?
or
Like,
that's too deep, girl. Like,
yeah,
relax.
or like you haven't been through anything, so like shut your mouth. You don't know what you're
Exactly.
talking about. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, no, we haven't experienced.
We
that
haven't
at all.
experienced that. We've been very blessed that way. And one thing I have really enjoyed from this experience is opening up that conversation that life is hard. Like, it's not
For
all
everyone.
social media likes and followers and life is perfect from what you post online.
Yeah.
Like, there's real shit happening every day too. And it's not being like all sad, let's only talk about our
Right.
emotions thing, but like, let's be honest about who we are. Let's not be afraid to be who we are either.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of people are probably also wondering, like, how do we meet the people that we've been meeting? Because I guess, like, our guests, as you guys will notice, are it's a variety. They're
Yeah.
from all walks of life.
All different walks of life, all different careers.
Yeah, and our next guest is someone, honestly, like, I don't know how we would have met her otherwise, but her husband is my husband's barber.
Yes.
And as barbershops goes, like, there's gossip that happens, and
Men do gossip.
men do gossip. And with that gossip came
A connection.
a really great connection, and we were able to connect with Jayna, Smith,
Yes.
and she just came out with a poetry book called Moon Phases, and we had,
With the most beautiful cover
oh my
art.
gosh,
It
beautiful
is,
cover. And
honestly, I will like want to get it framed.
yeah, it's
It is
gorgeous.
so beautiful.
And I'll be completely transparent here. Like, we did not read her book prior to
No.
recording with her. And we did buy her book after the recording, and we are recording the intro right now, the day after. So everything we're mentioning is accurate with our
Yeah,
feelings.
it's fresh.
I had the chance to read her book last night, and you guys,
I know, I'm so
I like
excited. I was just way too
I teared
exhausted,
up because this is something I've been needing this whole year. Like, it was like a prayer that was answered from God,
Yeah.
because I was like, holy crap, like, why is she saying everything I've been
that you've
feeling?
been
Like, she's
feeling.
hitting every spot.
Well,
And
I can just a testament to that. Our conversation is
yeah,
something that I feel like we've needed this year.
yes,
And that is something that I'm so excited to share with everyone, and
yeah,
something that I'm so proud of. And honestly, like, thank you so much to Janae for being so vulnerable in our conversation
yeah.
and
truly being your authentic self. Like, there
authentic
was
self.
nothing she hid.
Exactly. And
Like,
that, I think, created a lot of space for us to
yes,
show up and be vulnerable ourselves and ask questions that may be a little uncomfortable, or might be something that, like, we might shy away from because we don't want to
absolutely.
make anyone else feel uncomfortable. But she just showed up. She was vulnerable. She was like ready to talk about
Of
it.
course.
And that was just like, okay, we're doing this. Like, let's go there.
Yeah. And we hit some topics that sadly, like, people don't talk about.
No, not
And
enough.
we brought some light to that, and I really hope that this benefits somebody that's
Yeah.
listening out there. And we'd love to hear your feedback. So
Because
here
it
it
was, yeah, it
goes.
was healing. It's medicine. It's going to relate to a lot of women that are struggling. Like, I mean, if not to like share everything that we talked
Yeah.
about, but like miscarriages
Carriages,
and
yeah.
like just other traumas like that, and relating to getting to know yourself while you are committed to someone else.
Yes.
The how that affects, especially in like the situation of a miscarriage, where it impacts not just the woman
It also
that carried, the
exactly.
life, but also the impact that it has on the partner,
The
on the
partner, of
man,
course,
the
yes.
father of this child that was
Yeah.
lost, and I think that our conversation handled that
Yeah.
really beautifully. So I'm so proud of us for having that.
For having her on the podcast. One thing that really stood out to me about Janae that I was able to relate to was the fact that, and she shares this in her book, falling in love with someone else before falling in love with yourself.
Yeah.
And I know both of us relate to that as
Yes.
well, because we did fall in love at a young age.
Very young.
And we're with our partners for a long time. And during that process, we forgot about ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
okay, but
not just forgot. Like, for me, it was like I didn't even know. I was 22.
yeah, I didn't know that it was important to be loving myself at that
Exactly.
time.
Exactly.
There was so many other things going on.
And there's a lot of rhetoric out there that's like says, "Oh, you can't love someone until you love yourself. You can't let someone
but
in."
you can't
But that
also
doesn't that
blame
it
yourself. Like,
happens.
you can't help who you fall in love with, and when
And
you fall in love with
sometimes
them.
you do fall in love with someone else before you fall in love with yourself.
Of course.
And that doesn't negate.
And it doesn't mean you're doing it the wrong way,
Exactly.
or there is a
no
right
order.
way. Exactly.
There is no order with that. And I feel like if it is the right relationship, if it was the right partnership, if it's the right situation or whatever, you can have space, and you can take up space for yourself to still find yourself, to still love yourself.
Yeah.
And
You don't have to ditch your partner to go
no,
find
you
yourself.
don't have to be like this single girl,
Yeah.
independent all the time. If that's not the, if God happened to put the man before you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and that's a situation that the three of us ran into. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there, there is, there's space. Like, you can definitely learn to love yourself while loving someone else.
Exactly.
Like, I don't believe that one has to come before
the other.
or
And
whatever.
if you have that stuck in your head as well, you're going to stop a lot of things coming your way, or you're going to let go of some things that are meant for you and you're deserving for you.
Exactly.
So that was really enlightening to be able to relate to another woman that feels the same way about how we've been feeling and always talking about.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for tuning in again, and we really hope you feel just as how we felt after having that conversation. And here you go.
Yes.
Jayna Smith
Thank
from
you,
Jayna Poetics. Here you go.
Enjoy.
Jayna Poetics.
Jayna Poetics. That's your brain.
It's my brand. Okay. But it's an LLC, so hopefully we'll have a lot of little businesses under that brand name.
That's dope. And that's your middle name, right?
Yeah, it's my middle name.
Okay.
So Jayna Smith.
Jayna Smith.
Oh, that's really pretty.
I know.
It is
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful name.
It's not botched.
People can only say it right.
I really don't like Jayna when you hear the way it goes together.
The way it's supposed to sound. I know. Jayna's not bad, but Jayna's better.
I like it better.
Yeah.
But we can talk about a little bit about that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good to go.
Yeah, so we are talking with Jayna Adjei, right?
Jayna
Smith. And so you have a jewelry line. We create jewelry, and a book that you've just self-published.
Yeah.
Of poetry, which is so dope, and it's called
Moon Phases.
Yeah. That is amazing. So thank you, first of all, for being here with us today, and talking with Bianca and I. And we basically just want to get to know you, if that's fine. We have wine here. It's cozy.
Yeah, it's your birthday weekend, so we got to celebrate.
I'm loving it.
Turn up a little bit. So could you share a little bit about yourself? I know it's like such this cliche question, but
it's hard.
We need background. We need context. So.
Absolutely. So I'm a creative is how I like to describe myself. I write poetry, and I did publish a book this year, just a month ago, less than a month ago.
Yeah.
So I am ecstatic about that. But I'm also the founder of Jayna Poetics, which is right now a jewelry business that I created to promote my healing journey and wanting to share it with other people. So Jayna Poetics is based here in Seattle, but it is an e-commerce business. And I created bracelets mostly that I sell that are made with different healing stones.
Yeah, my husband rocks the I Am Resilient one, the black and gold, and he takes care of that. Like, I'm not even allowed to like pull on it. Like, oh my goodness.
I love to hear that. I mean, I think that the brand I've kind of been trying to build around this concept of rock your truth.
Yeah.
Like a play on the words because it's made with healing stones.
Yeah.
But also just this concept that you have to be honest and true to yourself.
Of course.
And I just wanted to share that and promote that. And Jayna Poetics is pretty much the embodiment of me being my truest form of myself.
Right. It's like your expression. Yeah.
So you're a huge like advocate for like self-care and self-love.
Absolutely.
Have you always been like that, or is it something you've like worked towards?
This is something that maybe in the last 2 years, because I was just going through a really hard time. I've had like back-to-back health issues.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of pushing down a lot of things. I'm definitely a big internalizer. And so I just got fed up with being sick in my youth. And I was like, what can I do? What can I do to change that? And so I just started plugging in and learning about how to love myself. And definitely learning a lot from a lot of other creatives and mental health therapists, people in my circle that are also kind of on the same journey. But definitely, no, I was neglecting my self-care, and that's why I'm so adamant about it now, because I just realized how important it is. And even thinking about the fact that I fell in love with my husband when I was 17 years old, and that was really my first big love, you know? And it should have been me.
Oh my gosh,
Yes,
I can relate so much to that.
I learned that, and it's not in any way taking away from the love that I have for my husband. But I'm actually better fit to love him by understanding how to love myself.
Of course,
Yes. So you weren't on this journey before. This isn't like something that you grew up around. Was your community like accepting of your healing journey, and like did you have any resistance from people around you when you started, you know?
So the strange thing about it is when you start setting healthy boundaries, people start pushing back on those boundaries.
Yes, they do.
So while from the outside people are like, I see you doing much better, and I'm happy about that, they're also like, well, now you're not calling me every day, or now you're not accepting my calls every day, or you're just not as available. And I had to explain that to a lot of people that these are healthy boundaries. And there's a poem in my book, and I say, like, these boundaries are for me first and foremost. Like, it's not to push you away, but for me to be my best self, and for me to really be your friend and your loved one and your lover. I have to first be here for myself. I have to show up for me.
So of course,
that was the reason why I got so adamant about making sure that I use whatever platform that I do have to encourage people to do the same. So
and that's, I mean, because we're clearly like on this journey as well, and it's, you find the more you love yourself, people's reactions definitely indicate how much they love themselves.
Of course,
the way they're reacting to you standing up for yourself, or you protecting yourself, you setting boundaries, like that shows more about like where they're at on their journey than it does about like what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, so it's always interesting that like you get triggered. People get triggered.
When people are comfortable with themselves and love themselves, they're more likely to understand when you're doing the same for yourself.
Exactly.
At what point did you really start to call yourself or feel yourself as a writer?
Well, I would say I've always been a writer.
You've always been comfortable to consider yourself like that?
I can remember. I've picked up a pen and pad and wrote, for whether it's journaling or it's writing essays. I mean, my bachelor's degree is in journalism.
Oh, okay.
So I've kind of always been all about writing. But at the same time, I don't think I really started calling myself a poet until after college. Which is kind of sad, because there was a huge platform in college for me to really explore, and even in high school. And so when I got out of college, I started really plugging in, and I got connected. I started volunteering and working with Youth Speaks, which is a spoken word platform for young people in high school. And I'm amazed at how dope our youth are, and just being able to be a part of that. But for me, writing has always been like a big part of my heart, but I'm just now getting to a point where I'm comfortable enough to share with other people, and comfortable enough to say that I'm a poet, because you just see so many different writing styles, and sometimes you, as a creative, fall into this pattern of like comparing yourself. And so I had to get out of that and just say, I can call myself a poet. I write poetry. It's my lane. It's what I love to do, and it doesn't take away from any other poet. and so I had to become more comfortable with that part of it.
What do you think that resistance was? Like, why did you feel like you couldn't call yourself a poet?
I don't know. I think it was a combination of things. Like, first and foremost, insecurity.
Yeah.
Like, just not feeling like my work was good enough. And so being self-conscious about it and just kind of keeping it hidden for so long. And then seeing so many other artists, especially in this area, there's actually a lot of spoken word artists in the Seattle area. And so I was just resistant and not really sure if I wanted to go out there and say that, because then I'm going to be compared to these other people.
Yeah,
So
you're putting
again,
a spotlight on yourself.
Yeah, just having to get away from like what's going on inside my head and just be free to create. And that's why I've kind of latched on to the concept of just calling myself a creative, because it's not just poetry. I want to write tons of things. I originally wanted to go to school for film writing.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, just kind of shifted.
Very diverse with your writing. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to limit myself to just being a poet, but I absolutely love poetry. It's my heart.
Did someone introduce you to it, or how did you get, like, where did that interest come from?
It's so amazing because my both of my sisters actually write poetry as well.
Okay.
And my oldest sister wrote this poem for my mother years and years ago, and I was probably maybe like 6 or 7 at the time. And my mom was just in awe of this poem and how amazing it was. And so my sister and I, we typed it up and we framed it for my mom, gave it to her for like a Christmas gift or something.
So cute.
And that was like what sparked it for me.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. She was able to create this story without directly telling a story. And it was empowering. And a lot of my pieces, they end with like this like little one line ending. And that just kind of how it was introduced to me. And then after that, I just started reading everything I could find. Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni, just like a plethora of artists. And I honor them with my work. And, you know, I was just so thankful because Dr. Mims wrote the foreword for my book, and she came to the Seattle Urban Book Expo where I was first selling the book, and she was there, and she used to be friends with Dr. Maya Angelou and
That's
knew
amazing.
Toni Morrison and all these great, prolific Black writers, and she was there talking about how amazing my work was, and just that was just an honor that
being
I
seen in that way must have like. Ooh, that's some validation. Not that you needed it, but you know what I mean. That like,
I mean, you kind of do. You don't need it to get going, but
nice.
It does help.
And this was your first book expo as well,
my
right?
first book expo, my first book anything. I had just released the book that week, and then I went to the expo, and it was honestly the first time I've been in the community and just felt that loved. I was just so supported, and even just by people that I never met that walked by and were like, "Wow,
isn't that an amazing feeling?"
It's beautiful. Cover.
Thank you.
Really a beautiful
we have
cover.
to shout out Kiki Elise, who did the artwork for the cover, but she's
so
amazing,
dope.
and that process was amazing in itself because she let me. We sat down and we had a conversation before she agreed to do the artwork. And I just told her about myself and about what I wanted people to get from the book. And then I talked about some ideas that I had, and I said, you know what? I want you to be so invested in this work just like I am. So I told her, I was like, I'm going to sing you 20 poems from the book. And I want you to read it, and I want you to be honest. And if you don't if you're not feeling it, let's not do this. And she read it, and she took the time to really read it and called me back, and she was like, we're doing this. And it was just beautiful. I was, oh man.
Did you guys come up with the name too together as
no,
well?
No.
Or like how did
I kind of already knew the name and everything that I wanted. So she just did the art on the cover. I kind of finessed the actual type, the font and everything on the cover, even the color choice. But I did reach out to her when I was vacillating between having a white cover, a black cover, a navy color, which is what I landed on. And she was just like, no, absolutely, you gotta go with that cover.
Yeah.
I sent it to her, and she was like, I love it, and that helped a lot too.
Right.
Just, I don't know, when you're creating that process, you have to fight within yourself, like questioning whether it's good enough or.
And it's your first book, so you're
Yeah.
doubting yourself at the
Already,
same
yeah,
time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So why did you choose moon phases?
Moon Phases came about. The book is actually fully titled Discovery Moon Phases. But the discovery is not on the cover of the book, and that was absolutely intentional.
Okay.
But I came to Moon Phases because during the year that I was writing the book, I was outside a lot because I like to be out in nature, especially when I'm writing. I'll go to parks, I'll just sit, and I just kept, every time I saw the moon, the moon is so captivating. It's
so
moving.
I was
captivating.
literally thinking about this because the full moon passed a week ago.
Yeah.
And I just, same with you, like just started really paying attention to the moon, and it's like I feel that energy anytime I'm outside and I see the moon or to get a glimpse of it, and I just feel like not home, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just like
in tune with the earth.
Yeah, you feel nature really when you see the moon.
Yeah, so the moon was just speaking to me, and I say that it sounds crazy, but I was just it was resonating with me, and so I was just curious. That one day I was just like, let me just do a little research on the moon phases, and so I just started looking, and I just kind of drew this metaphorical parallel between like my life journey and my stages of growth and healing and just kind of juxtapose it with the moon phases. And there's 3 moon phases in the book. It's waxing crescent moon, full moon, and new moon. And those are the 3 phases that just really stuck
resonated
out
with
to
you.
me. Yeah, because the book kind of starts, and I talk about some of the traumas that I experienced as a youth, especially being molested as a child. And so there's a couple of poems in the early part of the book that talk about that.
Right.
And so that is like the half sliver, that very small part of the moon that you see. It's less than a half. But I just kind of felt like I didn't really know myself during those stages, those pieces that I was writing from those memories. And so the book kind of progresses, and it literally is a healing journey. When I was writing that book, I was bedridden because yet again I was ill, and I really didn't have any other way of communicating, and so I just sat down and wrote a poem. I wrote a poem every day.
Wow.
Every single day, sometimes 5 poems a day.
Yeah, just to get it out.
Yeah, and I looked up and I was like, wow, this process has been so healing for me, and I want to share it with people. And I always wanted to write a poetry book, but this one just kind of came. Like, 'cause for years I had been little bit writing, but this was the stage where I finally found out that if I want to write something, I can sit down and write. Before, I felt like I had to be inspired. But that process, I learned how to just sit down and say, I'm a writer, I can write.
Have that discipline.
And work in that muscle. And so now it's an ongoing thing. I write a poem every day. Even if it's a 1-line poem, or it's a long poem, or even if it's a rap. Sometimes I play around with rap. I'm not a rapper.
I was going to say, you got some bars.
That I am not a rapper. I will not be freestyling. However, I use it as, like a technique, a practice skill. And so I've kind of played around with it.
You have to be the way you have to use words and language and rap. Like, I feel like people really underestimate that. Like, there are some rappers that, like, might not be mainstream or whatever, but that I strongly believe should be studied in school, because the way they like
articulate the words,
and
everything,
just play and
there's so
use
much
language and manipulate language and paint stories without really having to say much. It's wild.
Oh my gosh! My husband and I have been watching Rhythm and Flow.
Oh yes,
on Netflix, and I was just in awe of the just raw talent. And I love the different challenges that they had to do because it taught you a different piece of rap and what that looks like. And I mean, it didn't necessarily play to each of the contestants' strengths at
Right,
different
yeah.
times, but they still needed to have these skills.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of how I looked at it, because one thing that I do want to work on is my spoken word and just being more involved in the actual performance piece of that.
Yeah.
And that was why I've been kind of studying rap a little bit more, because I mean, you strip away the music and that's spoken word.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of really been plugging into that. But oh my gosh.
Do you have favorite artists that you use like as inspiration, or just people that get you in that like vibe? That, like,
you know what I've really been vibing with right now? Rhapsody's project is amazing. Oh my gosh! And Raina Biddy, who is an amazing poet, is featured on that album throughout, and she just kind of comes in at the end or in parts of different tracks, and she has interludes, and I will listen to that when I really want to write something fire. I'm just like, it just kind of gets me going.
Right.
I mean, because Rhapsody, she's really about, just, she's an intellectual rapper, and she definitely is for like promoting women, and especially women of color, Black women in particular. And so, I listen to that when I'm just like, I want to go in, I want to write something really dope. I listen to all types of music, but when I really just want to go in, I mean, J. Cole is my favorite rapper.
Oh, girl, me too.
Oh my
gosh. Huge fan.
Poets. Wale's a poet.
Yeah.
I like to listen to I like a lot of his old mixtapes.
I do like Wale.
Gosh,
I wish he wasn't so emotional, but it's like,
that's
you're a talent, I believe.
Gemini.
Yes, you are talented. You don't get the the credit you deserve, but he's dope.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you from Seattle or from Washington?
Yeah, I'm from Seattle. I was born, raised in Skyway, and I guess it's arguable whether that's a part of Seattle.
Yeah.
But I mean, all my extracurriculars, the schools that I went to growing up were in Seattle.
Yeah.
So I always say I'm from Seattle, but I've also lived largely in Renton.
Okay.
And so that's, I went to Renton High.
Yeah.
So there's that too. But yeah, I'm from this area, born and raised. The farthest I've really gone for an extended period of time was when I went away to school, and that was just east of the mountains. So I've never really lived outside of the state, which is why I think it's pretty dope that each of you have lived like in multiple places.
Yeah.
So you bring like a really fresh and different perspective to this area. But I was talking to Dr. Mims actually after the expo, and I was saying, I've been thinking about maybe I might want to move to Atlanta. And she's like, no, you need to stay here.
Yeah.
She was like, this is a mecca that is untapped in a lot of ways.
That's exactly how we've been feeling.
Yeah.
Exactly how we've been feeling.
We see it like, obviously, I mean, even on Instagram and stuff, I see women and people of color and all that in Seattle doing really dope things, but like how
do we connect each other and bring us all together?
How do we make this like really happen for
Yeah, and I mean, I think that a lot of people, at least from like our generation in particular, are really interested in building that community here, especially. So I've noticed over the like last year in particular, I've paid a lot more attention to it. And if you want to be connected to community here, it's there.
Yes.
You just gotta go out, meet the people, make the connections, come out of your bubble, and get out of that illusion that Seattle has the Seattle freeze concept.
Right.
Because there are a lot of people here that do want community to be thriving and want to hold space for creatives, and it's there if you're looking for it. And that's something I didn't see when I was younger. I used to say, man, Seattle's weak. And I went away to school, and that completely changed my perspective. I came back, I was like, I missed it so much. I went to Central Washington University. So just east of the mountains, but it's a little small town, and it was totally different from growing up in the city and just being so connected and seeing as many people of color. And I mean, that's saying a lot because Seattle is still really white, but
but there is
pockets,
there are
absolutely pockets, and so I just when I came back, I was just like, I gotta plug in, I gotta appreciate what I have here, and I want to be connected to community and since I've been searching for that, I found it.
You found it.
I found it.
I think it's when you're comfortable to step out of your comfort zone, you can find that community.
Yeah.
With that negative like mentality of it's not here,
Yeah.
like
Or I have nothing to offer.
exactly.
Because that can be a big wall, like to
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a process, but I'm seeing just a shift.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like I go to the trap and paints that are hosted kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But man, I went to one, and my friend and I, we were just like, wow, how awesome is this? It's just a room full of Black and brown people.
Yeah.
And I mean, in so
the
many
energy and like everyone's creative.
And you
I
feel
mean, oh my
comfortable to
gosh.
be yourself, and
Yes.
you don't feel like I stand out just because of the color of my skin. I
Right.
hate that feeling.
Yeah,
I
and I
hate
mean,
that feeling.
I would say probably most of us encounter that in your work life
Yeah.
or in a lot of places
Yeah.
outside of those community
Right.
spaces. So, yeah, I mean, you need that. I felt so recharged.
Yeah.
Every time I go to a community-based event, I leave and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to feel like every day.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes a village, right? So,
You need people to like, what I feel like sometimes you miss when you are isolated or you're in communities that don't necessarily look like you or
Yeah.
culturally align with you. Like, what is reflected back at you isn't necessarily what like lives with it. You know what I mean? There's
Right.
a disconnect. It's like you
Yeah.
don't really see me. You
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
Oh
really
my gosh.
understand where I'm coming from
Yeah.
or any of that. So when you are in community with people that are like you, that look like you, or share experiences like you, like your soul gets reflected back, and it's
Yeah.
like I'm good. Like
Yeah.
I
Oh
can
my
do
gosh.
this. I have value. Like I'm
Absolutely.
seen.
Absolutely.
It's so beautiful.
I wanted to ask you, what was the reason behind your I am bracelets, of why you chose to go that route?
So, Alex Ale is another poet and author that I really admire,
Yeah.
and she does a lot of work around affirmations, and so that, and I went to a cafe in San Diego. It's called Gratitude Cafe, I believe.
yeah.
Okay.
And they name all of their items on their menu are named as an affirmation.
Okay.
And I thought that was just amazing.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? I'm promoting these healing bracelets, these
Yeah.
stones that possess these metaphysical healing properties. And what better way to reinforce that than to name my bracelets in affirmation form?
Yeah.
So I did research on each of the stones that I sell and just got an idea of what properties they're meant to enhance and they possess. And then I kind of gave the bracelets names based on that.
So it
I'm
reflects the actual
I'm wearing my
precious stone.
I Am Love bracelet right now. And it's made with rose quartz. And and the rose quartz is the love stone.
Yeah.
So, I Am Love just felt right. And it was actually customized by one of my best friends.
Okay.
She wanted a rose quartz bracelet. And she was like, girl, I'm gonna give you an idea of what I want. I just want you to create something with it. And then after she started wearing it, everybody wanted it. And it ended up being like one of my most popular selling bracelets.
Oh, wow.
So I think it's so fitting that it's called I Am Love, and it's the one that got most of the
Most
love.
love.
That's you.
Yeah.
So how long have you been selling your bracelets for?
Oh my gosh, I probably about 9 months, 6, 9 months.
Oh, wow.
I started making the bracelets for myself,
Okay.
and just kind of got back into collecting stones and acquiring crystals and different things.
What did that like? Was that something that you were already into before you
So
started?
the strange thing about it is I was always into stones. When I was a really young child, I had a huge rock collection.
Oh, wow.
And I was a huge nerd and would, archive them and do all this research on the individual stones. And so I kind of got back into it because I was doing this like self-discovery process while I was writing the book. And so I was like, let me go back to the things that I love that I shed because I thought they weren't cool or they wouldn't be received or whatever I thought at the time. And so I just dug back into it, and I was like, I love jewelry, and I think it'd be really dope to make my own. And so I just got on YouTube and started like learning how to make different things.
Oh, so you're all self-taught.
All self-taught. And I mean, these are pretty basic, easy bracelets to make, but I've been teaching myself like little braiding techniques and different things so that I can offer different types of jewelry on the site. But right out the gate, it was just my love for rocks that kind of got me back into it. And then I was doing therapy and reaching out to like everybody around me for all these different naturopathic ways to heal. And a lot of people were pointing me to like crystals and stones. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to make it my own. Like, I don't necessarily connect with everything. But I wanted to make it my own. And this was my way of offering healing to others and a way to build this concept of rocking your truth, and just being your authentic self, and really folding into yourself and remembering the parts of you that you have shed or lost sight of because of like conformity.
And just how damaging that is. I think you don't really realize the impact that has on you until you like decide to take that journey to get to know yourself, to like be authentic
and
like,
heal.
well, a lot of this shit isn't even mine, like that I'm carrying around. It really isn't. These ideas that I have about myself, they're not mine. Like I picked them up from society or whatever. So that's like a hard thing to, I guess, like overcome.
I started doing meditations and guided meditations initially because I was just, when I started meditating in the beginning, I was falling asleep.
Of course. Yes. Scattered. You're thinking about like work and
or just getting sidetracked, right? Just bombarded with thoughts. And so to kind of help in that process, I decided I would do a lot of guided meditations initially. So I was doing one, and it was the strangest thing. I was doing the meditation. I was really into it in this moment, and the instructor was basically saying like, tell yourself I love you. And we just kept saying that. And she was like in the background kind of telling us other things, like search for yourself and find yourself, and then when you find it, hold on to it. And it seems corny, but I did that meditation and I was crying. I was bawling. I was like, oh my gosh, I lost myself. And it in that moment, I was kind of laughing at myself too. Afterwards, I was like, wow, that girl, that was deep. And it shouldn't have been that deep. But coming out of it, I really started thinking about the things that I let go of or I've hidden because I just was too worried about what other people thought.
And that's safety. That's survival. When you're young, when you're coming up, like, that's just natural. You want to feel included, you want to be accepted because that's genetically, like that's what we're conditioned to be just as humans. So it's natural to take on what you see until you realize like, no, that's not my path. It's leading me to destruction, actually.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think a lot of us too, when we've gone through things in life and when we're ready to speak about it, we also have this insecurity of what others are going to think about us. Like, oh, they're going to think I'm sick or I need help. Judge you. And you don't realize that stepping out and actually saying something, you're going to make a world of a difference because it actually encourages others to also open up. Because I'm sure just from reading your book, there's so many other people who've experienced the same things that are feeling like, I can go through this and still come out of it.
Absolutely. I had a woman reach out to me just on Instagram. She DM'd me, and I did a post right before I released my book, basically saying that, I had a miscarriage 2 years ago, and I promised myself when I had that miscarriage I was going to give birth to something. And so I shared that. I shared that on Instagram, and this woman DM'd me, and she was like, I just want to share with you that vulnerability is so appreciated. Like, she had just lost a child to in the same way to a miscarriage, and she, just like how I was feeling when I lost my baby,
Yeah.
was just looking for some kind of support.
Right.
And, having someone be candid and honest about something that is really devastating and takes a lot of vulnerability to share out.
Right.
Yeah.
Really spoke to her, and she was just like, I'm going to support your book off of that alone.
Yeah.
And I've had plenty of people since I've been kind of sharing and kind of making my Instagram this platform for self-love and self-care. People will reach out to me and tell me that, I really appreciate your candor, or I really appreciate your vulnerability here. It has encouraged me. Right. So, and I mean, I think that that's the strength of community and storytelling in particular, because testimony really does provide.
It's everything.
I mean, oh my gosh, if it wasn't for the women that were in my life at the time that I had the miscarriage, that had similar experiences, sharing how they got through that, or just telling me that it's okay for you to feel broken right now, and for you to not know whether you're up or down, and for you to take as long as you need to take to heal through that. That really helped me, because I didn't really know how to feel. I just knew that my heart was broken.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was just...
Because there's so many emotions involved. There's like the physical trauma, the emotional trauma.
It's a lot to...
And trying to get through that while you're heartbroken, like it's different than like a breakup with a boyfriend.
Oh my gosh, I've never cried that kind of cry before. I just never felt that way. And I mean, I was almost 8 weeks along, and that's still very, very early in the pregnancy. Right. But it was so real to me from the moment that
baby's soul.
Oh exactly. My gosh.
That is like, it's deeper than just the physical, like, the embryos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's, your souls were enmeshed, were together, and that's a loss. That is a loss. Like that, I don't think anyone, unless you've been through it, could ever
know that feeling.
Oh my gosh. I mean, my heart goes out to, and the fact that it is so common and not so commonly spoken of was another reason why I was like, you know what? As soon as I can talk about this without crying, I'm talking about it, because man, women need to know that they're not going through this by themselves.
Right. Yes.
And for me, the biggest thing that I kept feeling was I was less than a woman. Oof. And it seems crazy, but this is the one thing that we do that men
can't do.
And I don't know, I felt guilty. I felt so many different things, and I felt like I let my husband down, and it's like it wasn't my fault, obviously. Yeah. But at the time, you have all these terrible thoughts that are coming to your mind, like, what? I did something wrong. I must have. And, I was working a lot around that time, and I just beat myself up about that. And the doctor told me, she's like, there's nothing that you did that caused this.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, sometimes it's just something wasn't right. Yeah. And this is your body's way of dealing with that. Yeah. And that took a while for me to actually accept that. Right. Because for the longest time, I did want to play the blame game and just beat myself up. But
I feel like that gives an explanation.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You want that explanation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's my fault this happened. Like, whatever,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, but the fact that it happens to so many women, that one in four, one in four pregnancies and miscarriage, and we're not talking about that. Yeah. We're not sharing,
and especially your first pregnancy, right? Aren't you?
Yeah. See, that absolutely was, for me, what made it so much worse. Yeah. Because I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was like, I don't know, like 15 or something. Oh, wow. Okay. Irregular periods are a great indicator that you might be dealing with that. But through that, I realized that I needed to deal with that health-wise. Yeah. And so I was having issues getting pregnant. We were trying for about a year. Oh, wow. And it just wasn't happening. And it wasn't like I'm checking whether I'm ovulating, trying. But we were definitely not doing anything to prevent.
Right.
So we were expecting that we would conceive at some point, but it didn't happen over the course of that year. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll just reconvene.
Right.
We'll take a break, give my body a chance to do what it's doing, and then we'll try again. And then I got pregnant. And it was not planned at that time. And so it was kind of a shock. And so we were like, wow, this is our blessing.
Yeah.
You know, and then we realized that, oh, shoot, it didn't work out how we thought.
Yeah.
And we just bought our house. And we were about to do a housewarming, and I was planning everything. I was gonna have the ultrasound blown up and just put it in the room.
Yeah,
that was gonna be the baby's room. And then I actually had the miscarriage the weekend of my birthday. So this is actually the 2-year anniversary of the miscarriage, and I was asking myself all this week, why are you just randomly sad? And I was like, oh, okay, I'm mourning. I'm mourning. I'm grieving again.
Right.
And that oh my gosh, that feeling kind of came back. But it was just a hard time, because we definitely thought this was God, like, answering our prayers and giving us this baby that we really wanted. But
in a way, like, I know I hate when people say, you know, things happen for a reason and all that, but it honestly, like, birthed new, it turned your experience. You have new, like, you know, you took that experience and made something out of it and birthed new life into that.
You birthed a whole book to
and
share your story.
You know, jewelry line and like all of that came from, and connecting with other women that have gone through that, and who knows the trickle effect that will have on them. And, you know, the empowerment that your book has given them, the other healing, the women that will be healed through that. Like, that's something special, and that's definitely not to be, like, discounted, you know.
And I mean, that's my baby's legacy.
Yes. That's beautiful.
That
hits the spot right there.
It's something that will live on forever.
And who knows, her soul might have chose that, you know, like, this is how I want to be presented into the world. Like, through my mom's.
And I mean, my book is actually dedicated to the baby that I lost, as well as to my nephew, because my sister actually gave birth to a baby boy, and he was born with a heart condition, and he only lived 10 days.
Oh no.
And, you know, I share that to say that my sister said to me, you know, I don't know if I would have been able to hear the encouragement and the things that you were saying to me to try to help me get through this if you hadn't gone through what you went through. And I mean, neither one of those things are something anybody would ever want to have to experience, right? But I am glad that I went through what I did if it helped my sister get through what she's going through right now. And I 100% believe that both of their legacies are living on through the things that we create.
Absolutely.
You know, my sister and I are working on a project together, and we're really excited about just sharing it. It's kind of going to be like a bunch of letters between us, and just poems about womanhood, about, you know, conceiving, about, you know, just the plethora of issues that women deal with, and this, like, love letter to women, written from sister to sister. It's a lot that has come out of it. So in the moment, it definitely is, you want anything else to be the case, but there is definitely some peace and some solace in knowing that through that pain, something beautiful
can
was
come
created.
I think you were very blessed in a way of having the women around you to support you, but unfortunately not everybody has that. But creating a book that allows women who don't have that sisterhood or sister circle to be able to feel like they can relate with other women that are
Words are powerful.
so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, I'm 100% sure you have saved many women's lives through this, because miscarriages are one thing that people never speak about.
Especially in our community.
Yes.
Like, I feel like fertility issues and miscarriages and women dealing with struggles through pregnancy and stuff isn't really discussed openly across the board, but in particular Black and brown communities, because also media likes to condition like baby mamas and
Yes.
like, you know, they're just popping out babies left and right and all of this, and like, so even myself as a Black woman, like, I feel like I've had that thought once or twice, like I'm good. I'm gonna be able to have a baby. Like, that's
but I mean, I think we all kind of have that thought for whatever reason. Yeah. Especially if, you know, you're not one of the people that, you know, conceived really young in life.
Yes.
So, you know, you get to the stage where you're ready to have a baby and you're questioning, okay, is my body going to do what it's supposed to do?
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Maybe you do have irregular periods, or, you know, any other issue, fibroids, whatever, things that may cause it to be harder for you to conceive.
Yeah.
And then we just have that question. But I mean, even my mother, I didn't know she had a miscarriage until I had one, and she opened up and shared that with me. So even the people that are so close to you are not openly necessarily sharing that out. And I get it. I totally get why you would not want to share that.
Right,
and I think initially my husband wasn't that comfortable with talking about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, men and women process things differently. I mean, different people in general process things differently. But for him, it was like, hold it in and just be a rock for me. And I had to keep telling him, like, this happened to you too. Yes, it happened in my body, but this was a baby that we created together that you were hoping for. And this is a loss for you just as much as it is for me. And that's the other piece, is I don't think men are included in this conversation at all.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
So
unless it's a negative, like, he blamed me.
Yeah.
You know, the husband that made it the wife's fault.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that might be talked about.
Nobody speaks about what they're going through during that process.
Not at all. So I hope that by, you know, being candid about our experiences and sharing that out, that hopefully he can be an encouragement to men that are going through this also. And, you know, I want women to know that if nothing else, you can DM me. And you can have somebody that has gone through something similar that can empathize with what you're dealing with. And I hope that the healing process that I went through in writing the book is translated to every reader. That's my biggest hope for the book, and it was my birthday wish. Because I really just want people to find themselves in the book. And I have already been getting a ton of feedback from people that have read the book. Just like, girl, I saw myself so much in that book, and that warms my heart. And it makes it worth it to have to be vulnerable enough to share those really intricate and delicate parts of my life and my experiences. If it's helping someone, it's better than me internalizing it.
Because it's healing for both. You know, you get healed by other people resonating with your story because you don't feel alone. Like, it's like, okay, this is regular.
Feeling like it's normal to feel like this. There's nothing wrong with you to feel like this. That's a beautiful feeling, because when you're going through stuff and you're going through all those emotions, you always beat yourself up to believe that there's something wrong with you. And when you feel the support by other women especially, it makes the world of a difference. You feel the healing process.
And that, like, healing doesn't have to look like one thing. It's not like, you know, you're on this journey and then, like, every day it just gets better and better and better. You know, it does, but, like, some days you wake up and it's like, I feel like I'm at square one again.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm right back right when that situation happened. I feel like I'm in the midst of it. And then you're questioning, like, am I doing something? Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why can't I get past this? Why can't I, whatever, not understanding that it's just healing is a mess.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just had that moment last night. I was seriously, I wrote a poem about it because I was just like, I'm not supposed to feel like this. I'm supposed to be better.
Yeah.
But no, that's not how healing works.
Yeah.
There are going to be days when you see so much growth.
Right.
Yes.
And there are going to be days when you see regression. And there are going to be days when you're looking at a memory and it hurts. It still hurts. And you got to give yourself space for that. And that's another part of just healing and self-care in general, is giving yourself grace, because we go so hard on ourselves to have arrived at this healing. I've hit this plateau of healing, and now I'm going to go and heal
others, and I'm never going to think about what hurt me before.
Right. That's not true.
And I'm now immune to other things like hurting,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, it's not. That's not real. And so I had to remind myself, it's like, I want my platform to be real and honest. So there are going to be times when maybe the content isn't as upbeat as others, because that might not be where my headspace is. And I had to give myself space to be okay with that, because initially I was like, oh, I got to be on it every day. I have some motivating thing to say. And sometimes motivation is just being honest and saying, today is not the day. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I know some of the people that I follow on Instagram, I follow them because they're authentic and they're real. And when they're going through something, they share that. And when they have their highs, they share that. And I appreciate that a lot, because social media, for all of its good, can be really damaging to your mental health and to your self-esteem.
And I pray for the babies out there that
God.
are growing up with it.
With
like,
it as their
face.
only world.
They don't know anything else.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes I think about with my niece, I'm like, we got to get you outside, baby girl. We got to have you on the phone.
The summer camp is
because we used to be outside playing. That was the thing to do.
Yeah.
So, and you don't see kids outside nearly as much as you used to.
Or
and
interacting with each other. Like, that's
that's
how
the
we
key.
learn. Like,
that's the key. Sitting at a table at dinner time and everyone's on their phone drives me insane.
Wild,
And it's like, when I'm trying to be conscious of it, I'm even more aware, right? And so you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really trying right now. But now y'all are on your phone, so I'm gonna pick mine up and scroll, and it's just like, I don't necessarily want that to be my reality. I want to have personal interactions, and sometimes my girlfriends, we try to do like at least 1 or 2 girls trip a year. And when we were in we went to Arizona this year to the Grand Canyon, and we were just saying, like, we want to take pictures and capture this experience, but at the same time, I'm kind of just want to take it in, and just share this moment with you all, instead of trying to document it to show people. And so it's balancing act, because I mean, obviously, for your platform to grow and thrive, you have to be posting.
It's a tool.
Oh, yes.
Right. But at the same time, you got to balance it for sure.
Yeah, Gabby and I have been like struggling with that because we're from the generation that's not always on our phones like that. So we're like, we need to be like documenting this, but when you're in the moment, I'm just one of those people, like, the last thing I'm thinking about is snapping this or making an Instagram story.
Well, because then I'm overthinking. It's like, no, the lighting's not good.
Yes.
Again, like,
And it takes you out of the moment. You're not conscious, you're not present anymore.
Right.
You're thinking about how you going to post, what your caption going to be, all that.
What hashtags you want to use.
It's too much sometimes.
It is a lot.
It's too much.
So you said, like, self-care clearly like important to you. What has been your journey to find the things that really speak to your soul, the things that have healed you, that you've like really resonated with?
I mean, the journey has been trying a lot of different new things. I got into therapy. I go see a counselor, and I encourage everybody to do that.
Yes.
You know, sometimes the work that we do, it takes a lot away from you, and you need to have a sounding board. You need to have a way to decompress and release that. So that was like key for me to start doing that, because I'm just a huge internalizer. And so helping me to process out loud. But definitely also just doing things that are intuitive. So for me, because I'm a creative, I go with the flow. I'm a free spirit. I talk about that in my book. But a lot of it is just getting into nature. Sometimes when I'm feeling down, I'm like, I haven't went for a walk. I haven't been out by the water. I need to do something to kind of get me recharged. And in doing that, I've learned new things, like just even this concept of grounding. Just like the fact that we walk around in shoes all the time, separated from the earth. And so just going to the beach and letting your feet be in the sand for 30 minutes.
Yes, feel
it
connected
will
with
actually help with, chronic pain, inflammation, those type of things. So it's been a process of me like absolutely looking for it. But surrounding myself with people that are like-minded and all kind of on a similar journey, and sharing out. Like my two of my best friends, we get on a group chat every week, weekly now. On Wednesdays, we call it Wellness Wednesdays, and we will just share out what we're doing that week for our self-care.
That's beautiful.
And sometimes it's, girl, I went to the gym.
Yep.
And sometimes it's, check out this really cool thing I'm doing, or I went to yoga or whatever. And then just trying to be intentional about trying new things, like doing yoga or meditating or some of those things, naturopathic ways of healing, especially for me, because I have diagnosed chronic illnesses that I have to manage. And just knowing that the way I function, I don't want to be clouded by a ton of medication. Just having to look for other ways to be healthier. And just plugging into that has really been really helpful. And that's kind of been my process. But I try to just keep an open mind. So if somebody tells me about, some weird way of healing or some naturopathic remedy for a cold, I'll try it. I just
try everything once.
At
least try it
before
once.
you're going to doubt it.
Right. So it's just been kind of feeling out what works for me. But one thing I kind of got into is art therapy.
Okay.
So when I'm like really stressed or feel like my thoughts are racing, a lot of anxiety, I'll just paint. I'm not a great painter, but I like to do it.
Does that get in your way at all? Because like I've tried that, you know what I mean? But I just overthink that. Like my anxiety gets so out of whack at that point, because I'm like, I'm not a painter.
Exactly. I think that's where it is. It's where you think, I'm not a painter, so why am I going to do this? Or journaling, I'm not a writer, so why am I doing this? Is this what I'm supposed to be saying?
Right. And I mean, we just kind of got to get out of our own way when it comes to that. Because, I mean, I think initially I was embarrassed to like post that I'm painting because I started posting it on my Snap, and the people are like, "Are you selling these?" And I'm like, "Oh Lord, no! I don't want you guys to think I'm out here trying to. I'm just trying to heal." So, I mean, it's just a process, but I definitely, writing is key for me. It helps me, but I think that if you're not a writer per se, that doesn't mean you cannot write. Exactly. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't write. I think you should. I tell my friends that all the time, that they're like, I'm not really a writer. Just put something on the paper. Sometimes you just need to write down what you're thinking about, and maybe reading it will help you see that it's crazy, or will help you step away from it.
There's Jen Shapiro. She writes books, and she wrote like "You're a Badass" and like "You're a Badass and you make money." She has a quote, like she once said that she doesn't even know what she's thinking until she writes it, until she's writing. And I find that for myself, like I enjoy writing. It's a creative outlet for me, but journaling and like writing my feelings down, that has been
Key.
because you don't your mind
is in a different
jumbled,
place.
and like
Yeah.
taking that time, slowing down. I'm old school, so I'll write with a pen and paper.
Yeah, me
Oh,
too.
me too.
Yeah.
I prefer it.
Yeah,
I
it
write
slows
on
your
my
mind
phone
down.
sometimes, but I prefer the pen to pad, especially like if I'm journaling in particular. I gotta write it.
Yeah.
But
It's
there's
like almost spiritual at that point,
Yeah.
because I feel like that physical with your mental, and like you're open, you're thinking about your feelings. It's just like the divine like channeling through you.
absolutely.
And reading everything you've written when you were going through those emotions
Yeah.
helps you throughout your healing process too. Every time I've reread what I've written, I'm like, wow, like
I've come
that's
a long
deep.
way. Or,
Yeah.
girl, like,
Yes.
you were really tripping that time.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah,
true.
that's real. I have journals from when I was a kid.
You save them all.
I mean, I've lost a lot of them over the years, but I still have at least maybe 10 journals. And my husband one year bought me like nothing but journals for my birthday.
Oh, wow.
And I was over the moon.
Yes.
And it's like, it took a lot for him to think that was a sufficient enough gift. Right? But I had been telling him, I'm like, you could literally just buy me 10 journals and some really dope pens and I will be over the moon. And he did it one year and I was ecstatic because when I have journals that are unwritten and I have to write in them.
Right. Yeah.
So it pushes me to stretch that muscle, to make sure I'm journaling. So I have journals for different things. I have some, like I keep a journal, a pad on me, because sometimes I just get inspired and I gotta write it down. But then I also have journals that are just designated for writing when I'm anxious, or that are designated for writing about my gratitude, things I'm thankful for, and just processing through that. So I think it's really a healing, and to your point, can be a really spiritual thing for you to just write and to go back and reflect later on what you were thinking and how you were feeling in that time.
And it helps with the self-doubt of where you've come from when you started all this.
Yeah.
A lot of times we lose faith of our progression in our healing process.
Forget, like,
exactly.
Life is always coming at you, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to like recognize that like there is growth there. Like
Yeah.
I'm not reacting the same way to things that I used to, and to triggers the way that I used to. And sometimes having that documentation to go back and be like, oh yeah,
You've come out. Exactly.
Yeah.
You've
And
come a
now
long
I'm
way.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think with journaling too, a good habit is to get into writing when you're also feeling good.
Yeah.
A lot of times we get caught up in only journaling when you're
Yes.
in your emotions.
Yeah.
Like, no, get in that when you're feeling good, because that's a good reminder when you're feeling like crap. Like,
You can go back to
exactly.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's good days too. Don't hold on to these bad days all the time.
Yeah. Yesterday I was, like I said earlier, just not feeling my best self. I was just a little sadder than usual. And I literally pulled my book out, which I usually keep with me.
Yeah.
And I just started flipping through it and reading different pieces. And it kind of took me back to that place when I was healing. And it helped me feel better instantly. And I think it's the same when you reflect on things that you've written in your journal, right? Looking at the gratitude journal that I mentioned, I go to that when I start getting in my head and maybe thinking that things are just not going how I want
Just
them
seeing the
to,
lack.
or
Yeah.
just focusing only on the negative, the lack, like that point, for sure, it helps. It really kind of brings you back. And I think it's really important to reflect on the things that you are really grateful for, because we just harp so much on the negative sometimes. And some days when I write in the gratitude journal, I'm like, what do I have to be thankful for today? But then I really think about it, and it's like, no, I am able-bodied. There was a time when I couldn't get out of the bed. Like, things like that.
Right.
You gotta really be honest with yourself and face that, because the negative is gonna be there, and it's so dangerous to stay stuck in that space. So definitely my passion for self-care and self-awareness grew because I just felt like I was alone a lot.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be alone.
Yes.
Like, I actually enjoy my solitude now. I enjoy it and I need it. And I created a meditation room in my house.
Oh,
that's
I have like
beautiful.
a tapestry.
Yes.
It's like a sunset on the beach.
Oh, wow.
And I just go in there and get away
Yeah.
and read or write or paint or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just sit and meditate in that space, and just kind of, created my little altar space and all of that. And it has just been so tremendously helpful through the hard times.
Right.
Yeah.
With being in a very long-term relationship and a marriage, and then like taking that space and time to figure yourself out while you still have that commitment to honor. How has that been? 'Cause Bianca and I talk about this
all the time.
Just like finding yourself while you're in a committed relationship.
And a happy relationship. From my experience, I've been in relationships where they weren't healthy.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't happy,
I
already knew what was causing that.
He's toxic.
Exactly. But when you're in a happy relationship and then you're going through your things, but it's all internal, how have you been able to overcome that?
It was definitely a process initially when I started doing all this talk about, oh babe, I need to focus on me.
Yeah.
And he never pushed back. He was just like, okay, if this is what you need, if this is your process, let's figure out how we give you that while also still nurturing our relationship. And I think what we found is that he was also neglecting his own self-care and working so hard to love me, right? And vice versa. And I mean, we got together when we were young, and we've talked about how we kind of bonded over this need to survive, right? And just both being these two mature people and these pillars in our family, and kind of just got connected over that and didn't really have time to just really fall in love. And so it's really amazing because we're doing that right now.
As
12 years
into
our relationship, we're learning so much about one another. And one thing that's really key for me in relationships, just friendships, romantic relationships, whatever, is intimacy. Like, I have to feel like we're connecting, we're vibing. And so in my exploration, I learned better how to articulate to him what I needed. And, and he did the same thing. And so we were actually having way more productive and healthy conversations. We're sharing experiences together and understanding that I am this adventurous, outgoing person, and he is the pillar of stability. And
my life.
Right? So understanding that, yes, it's okay for me to go and have a girls trip with my friends.
Yes.
And that doesn't take away from my relationship with him. It makes it stronger. Because now I'm not forcing him to do something he doesn't really want to do. Right? So honestly, this journey has been so healthy for our relationship. Self-care and self-love, it really does teach you how to love another in a way that you probably weren't loving them otherwise. Because you don't know how to put somebody, you got to take them off of this pillar, right? And so that's what I had to do with him. It's like, you're not supposed to be my everything. No. We are choosing to do life together, and we're partners in this journey. But I cannot look to you for all of my fulfillment. It's not fair for me to expect that from you, and it's not fair for you to expect it from me. So just in going through that, I think we've gotten so much closer. And I think that more importantly, that sense of intimacy is there in a way that it wasn't necessarily before. So I tell people this all the time. You plug into yourself and you're going to be a better partner for whoever you're with.
And it's healing them too. You healing yourself and paying attention, that's healing.
No, it gave him space because I don't think before that he thought that it was okay for him to have his thing.
No one told me that it was okay for me to, that I can have my likes and he can have his likes and we don't have to You know, I don't have to be this ball and chain that's nagging him. Like, come on, babe,
Yes.
like let's go.
And I
here,
think
let's go
society too makes you feel like hashtag relationship goals.
Right.
Oh,
Like
gosh.
You're my best friend.
you have to
you're my
do everything
everything.
together,
Yeah.
and no, like you're allowed to have your own thing going on. Like that's
Yeah.
completely healthy. Like that,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, and I mean, he's so incredibly supportive of my
Yeah.
art. You know, they're selling my book out of the shop, the barber shop that my husband works at. And he texts me every time he sells a book.
Yeah,
He's
love
like,
that.
I just
that's
sold another
awesome.
one.
He's like your
Little
biggest
agent.
fan.
But he has been so supportive through the whole process.
Yeah.
And even just in understanding that as an artist, as a creative, I have to share the stuff that I'm going through. So inevitably that means he's going to be written about.
Yeah.
And he had to, you know, come to terms with that. But he gives me space to do that. He really does. And I 100% feel supported in my art and what I'm doing. And even though poetry is not really his thing, he wants to read every piece I've ever written.
That's so beautiful.
And so sometimes he'll read it and he'll just look at me and be like, I mean, that's dope, babe.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you think about it? He's
I really get it.
it kind of went over my head a little bit, but let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, and so we've been doing more of that. And I think that it's kind of drawn us much closer.
Right.
Yeah, that's really beautiful because that's exactly how we discovered you. Because my husband goes to your husband to get his haircut.
So crazy.
And he came home and he was like, you have to meet this person. You need to interview her. And I was like, okay. So I talked to Gabby about it. We're like, yes. And that's how it all happened.
Wow. I mean, there's just so many doors that have been opened, and that's how you know, like, divinely that we're meant to be together, right?
Yes.
But yeah, he has helped open so many doors for me just with his platform. He's so community based because barbershops, I mean,
There's a lot of gossip that happens over there.
that honestly, he tells me all the time. He comes home and he's like, "Babe, I'm a counselor." And like, you really are.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially in the Black community, men don't go to counseling.
No.
It's not a thing. So they're going to their barbers and they're
That's
telling
really the
them
only
their problems.
space that they are like
Vulnerable.
allowed.
Yeah.
Like that even happens. Where else are Black men gathering
Yeah.
to talk?
Exactly.
You know, it's not
That's so
happening.
true.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think that's dope in itself. Like him just having that platform and being so community connected.
Yeah.
You know, it's awesome. I was telling you guys earlier, we can't go anywhere without people stopping him and being like, Mike, you my guy. You know, or, you know, just so happy about how they made him look and going home. And my girl was so excited about my haircut or what have you. So I don't know. I just think it's really dope. And I mean, the J Styles Barbershop, just the environment in itself and just the pillar and the community that it is, it's just a great place for people to go. And I'm just honored that, you know, Jamil has been so supportive of my art. He came and did like a bunch of videography at the expo for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just like completely free. Just I want to support your art. I love your poetry, and I just want to support your work. So I think it's dope, and it kind of gets back to what I was saying earlier. Just like if you're looking for community, it's there.
You'll find it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say on behalf of Gabby and I, thank you so much for sitting down with us and sharing your story, because it's definitely something, like we said, that's not talked about. And before we close, where can our listeners find you? So
you can find me on Instagram at Ajane_poetics. It's spelled AJANEE_POETICS. You can also go to my website, which is ajanepoetics.com. You can find me on Twitter. I'm working on it. And Facebook, but I am most active on my Instagram. I welcome you to please reach out and please read the book.
Yes, everyone.
Where can we find the book?
The book is available for sale on my website. You can also buy it on Amazon. It's available on Amazon as well. But if you buy it through my site, you get a signed copy.
Perfect.
And, you know, just
Yeah.
In full disclosure, I make more money through my site. But I either or. I just want people to get it, to read it, and I hope that my intention for healing is translated for everybody that reads it.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you both for welcoming me on, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Absolutely, this was so dope.
This was so dope.
I
Absolutely.
love conversations like this, so thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.